a complicated case out of Fillmore County. Nearly 40 charges have now been filed against identical twin sisters involved in a fatal Amish buggy crash in Fillmore County. But so far, no arrests have been made. Fillmore County Sheriff John DeGeorge held a press conference today to provide more insight into the investigation. We'll get to that in just a couple of minutes, but first, here's an overview of the case. Fillmore County investigators say back in September, twins Sarah and Samantha Peterson tried to trick law enforcement officers after Samantha, who was reportedly high on meth, crashed into an Amish buggy. 7-year-old Wilma Miller and 11-year-old Irma Miller were killed, and their 9-year-old brother and 13-year-old sister were seriously injured. While Sarah claimed she was driving, detectives say text messages show Samantha was actually behind the wheel. The sheriff's office says Samantha faces 21 criminal charges and Sarah faces 16. Despite the fact 2 children were killed and 2 others were injured in that Amish buggy crash in Preston, as we mentioned, no arrests have been made. It was a concern addressed during a press conference with Fillmore County Sheriff John DeGeorge today. KIMT News 3's Brandon Cote is joining us live from Preston. Brandon, give us the reasons behind holding off on this arrest.
Well, Jess, Sheriff DeGeorge says that they're holding off on making any arrests to ensure justice is served correctly. Now, he tells me deputies are still collecting evidence and that evidence is still being processed before they arrest Samantha and Sarah Pearson. Sheriff DeGeorge tells me that's clearly the reason booking photos have not been released. As for the complexity of the investigation, the sheriff's office says since the sisters are identical twins, detectives had to make sure they have the evidence needed to convince a potential jury. It was Samantha, not Sarah, behind the wheel. According to the department, the twins tried to make that job more difficult for investigators by switching clothes, which was caught on dashcam video at the scene of the crime. Sheriff DeGeorge also says the sisters' history of criminal behavior raised law enforcement's suspicions.
If we were to make an arrest right away because we think we know what happened, that starts this court process. If this were to go to trial, before we have all of that evidence back, we risk losing this case, and that's not an option for us.
Now, Jess, the sheriff's office is unable to make a comment on whether the sisters are remorseful or at all about this fatal car crash, but the office says they are in contact with the Miller family, updating them on any progress being made in this investigation. Live in Preston, Brandon Cote, KIMT News 3.
Thank you, Brandon. The Fillmore County Sheriff's Office didn't provide a timeline for the Peterson sisters' arrest, but does say county prosecutors are reviewing the case and preparations are being made for the suspect's initial court appearance.